This is what 28 kilometres of Scaff looks like. That's about halfway from here to Tauranga, or 300 lengths of this building. Imagine how much longer the refurb would take if we had 300 of these. Kia ora, I'm Will, the Rotorua Lakes Council Programme Manager for Museum Refurbishment. From the outside, the museum is looking as about as exciting as a Monopoly hotel piece right now. But if you come inside, it's more like an organised bird's nest of strops and poles, or rather a bird cage, because that's the type of scaffolding set up. Well, I've got some B-roll to go walk through, so mysterious voiceover, can you please take it from here?
Sure can. Is now a bad time to say I have a fear of heights? Holding this whole operation together is the scaffolding. Get ready to get sick of hearing that word. It has been designed by engineers and has its own compliance system. It's checked every 7 days by a certified scaffolder who looks over things like gates, ladders, safety barriers, and checks for rust or damage. Not only that, but we work with fens on fire safety to ensure that there's always fire extinguishers close by and that there are multiple egress evacuation routes from wherever you are. I'm glad I'm just a voiceover and I don't have to get out of here in a hurry. Scaff is serious business on site and there's a lot of it. Apologies to the 2 Scaff mega fans, but we're just going to look at the 3 main types of scaffolding that are currently being used. The first, like Will said, is birdcage scaff. This is mainly to provide safe access throughout the building for workers. Next is propping, which provides structural support to places like the roof, where supporting walls and floors have been removed. This scaff spans multiple levels, cutting through the floors in some places. Finally, making up the external roof section of the scaffolding structure is the truss scaff and its suspended scaffold, which is actually floating. Well, kind of. To put it simply, the external scaffold structure is weighed down with an array of concrete blocks and water tanks that equate to over 200 tonnes. These pillars stretch up from the ground to support the gable truss and form the roof. Walkways and platforms are then securely suspended from the gable using strops, so the platforms sit just above the roof, without actually touching it. But why go to all this effort to suspend the scaff? A major reason is that the building can't currently support the weight of all that scaff, and the occasional 3 tonne of materials being craned onto the lifting platforms. Floating scaff means that the weight is being supported from the ground instead. It also provides access for hard to reach areas without damaging the roof tiles and walls. While it helps work, it can also hinder it a bit too. It creates tight spaces that can be difficult to manoeuvre in, especially if you're carrying building supplies. Not to mention the insane amount of logistics if something needs craning into the scaffed area, which is not cheap and not a next day job. Plus, if you're not a fan of stairs, this is not the site for you because there is a lot of stairs. In fact, it's about 100 steps from the ground to the top. Talk about a workout. To wrap this episode up is the wrap. The high-density plastic wrap covers the roof and majority of the sides, creating an enclosed space shielded from the weather that, in theory, would allow crew to work 24/7. Before you run to the comments, no, we will not be doing that. What we will be doing, however, is recycling up to 95% of this plastic wrap once the project is done. As a bonus feature, the wrap even has some fun little windows for extra airflow, or if you want to stop and admire the view. Okay, Will, back to work.
Join us next time when we go back in time to the museum's emo phase on Unwrapping an Icon.
Hey, that's my line!